As I worked in this business for years, worked somewhat in the research department for Wellington Management Company, and then was a member of the investment committee that overlooked Wellington Fund. And I could see firsthand what a hard business this was to win. We brought in new portfolio managers, not very much worked. So we then had a big problem at Wellington. We had only essentially one fund, the Wellington Fund, a balanced fund, and it was the go-go era. And as my great mentor, Walter Morgan, said, I was too conservative for those times. And he therefore on his part, asked me to take over the company. And as he said, do whatever it takes to get it fixed. And I knew the essential thing was to get us into the equity fund business, to have a more balanced line of funds to offer the public. Because balanced funds were really out. They weren't going anywhere. Their market share dropped to 1% of industry cash flows. So what I had to do was pretty obvious. Doing it was not obvious. I talked to 4 different firms, and none of them, the first 3 had not much interest, no interest really, in doing the merger with us. And when I got to the 4th firm, it happened by, I thought then, happy chance, sort of thought, and that was the iVest Fund up in Boston. The iVest Fund and the other funds they started, all very aggressive, did really, really well until they didn't. And in the 50% market decline of 1970, late 1972 to 1974, October, 50% down, their funds probably went down, say, 65%. The go-go era was dead. The company was falling apart, and because of their terrible performance, and they ganged up and fired me. Nobody seemed very interested in me. The head of the Pennsylvania company looked at me and said, what do we need you for? This is a lesson in humility here. So I decided my best chance, after trying a few of those things, was to come back to the Wellington Fund, where I was still the chairman of the board of the fund, which is different from the chairman of the board of the management company. So I said to the funds, your manager who controls the funds had controlled the funds in the industry. That was the stupid way of running, but that's the way it still runs today. Your manager has fired me, but I want you to hire me, and we'll take over the administration of the funds, and we will be independent of Wellington Management Company. We get anybody else to run the money, anybody else to distribute the money, whatever we want to do. We would be independent and free to act in the interest of fund shareholders. And the way I made that sale, for the want of a better reason, is by suggesting that we create this new investment management company owned by the fund shareholders. This makes us the first mutual fund. We use this name mutual funds. It's totally false, except for Vanguard. So after 6 months of struggle and unpleasantness, nasty stuff, close calls, ups and downs, laughter and tears, the directors finally voted to do that, but wouldn't give me the Wellington name, even though Wellington Fund was part of my, I was the head of Wellington Fund. So I had to create a new name. And the name was, I hope you're sitting down for this, Vanguard. And the first thing we did in a strategic way was to start the world's first index fund.